Welcome to Montreal, another edition of the Suburban Radio Hour with my colleagues Anthony Bonaparte, features editor, Mark Lidbetter, sports editor, and we'll have all the entertainment and society news with Mike Cohen later on. Another busy news week. March is Fraud Prevention Month, by the way, and we'll have our Charles St. Pierre talking about a Lachine senior who managed to put some scammers on the run. UDM rector says the CAC tuition hike is hurting Montreal. This is the rector of the Université de Montréal. Very interesting story in this week's paper, so I urge everybody to pick it up. Mayor Plante has finally agreed to respect the changes of the AGLO and limit questions on one issue to 3. That came up after barrages of people. Some 15 at 2 meetings went after Hampstead Mayor Jeremy Levi's support for Israel. STM cuts may affect service very shortly. We're going to have our own Joel Chiashi talking about that. Potential daycare strike looming, so a lot of parents are worried about that. For West Enders, Côte Saint-Lucers, the Court of Appeal has said the Meadowbrook case can go on. Côte Saint-Luc tried to throw it out, but the Pacific Group will be able to pursue their claims against the city. Mega protest was planned at the National Assembly by Mark Perez and his language rights group. And please go and read about WIPCA, the West Island Black Community Association, who have started an important fundraising campaign of $3.5 million to build a new community center for their expanding needs. Our main story on the front page this week is, and I'm very pleased and honored to have our next guest, concerns the incidents at McGill University. As you may have heard, but please read it in depth in the paper. And pro-Palestinian protesters blocked the Bronfman building at McGill, that houses the business school. They blocked all the entrances, nasty signs. And what was interesting was that even MPs like Mark Miller, who's the immigration minister, Anthony Housefather, said the only reason they're doing this is because the name of the building is the Bronfman building. It was simply singled out because of a Jewish identification. McGill's response was somewhat less than satisfactory. And on that story, it's my great pleasure to welcome Ambassador Paul Herson, Israel's Consul General in Montreal, also responsible for Quebec and the Atlantic provinces. Ambassador Herson, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Thanks for taking the time. I wanted to get your take on this and one more story that is also in the paper that was some good news for you, but you were so aggravated about this that after the MPs came up with their comments, you tweeted out about McGill's response. How did that come about? What was your feeling?
Well, first of all, I think you're being a little bit generous to these demonstrators.
Well, I've never been accused of being generous, but we do try to maintain decorum.
Well, I wouldn't call them pro-Palestinian so much as pro-Hamas.
Yes, they are.
Or anti-Israel. But I'll allow you if you want to be generous.
No, I actually agree with your definition.
Look, I've been here in Montreal for 2.5 years, and this is a world-class city, and I love it, and I've been having an amazing time. The last 4 months, these guys have spewed out a wave of hatred across, it started on campus, but doesn't end on campus, and it's poured into the streets, and it's not only a hatred for Israel, it's a hatred for Jews, and it's a hatred for decency.
And that was intimated in Immigration Minister Miller's comments.
Absolutely. And I think that it's the rule of the playground bully. If you don't speak up against these people, they'll pursue you. And so I just kind of thought to myself, it's just enough already. I mean, they've bullied the university administration to the point where they put out these sort of flaky responses saying that to the best of their knowledge, no one was prevented from entering or exiting, or to the best of their knowledge.
No, they actually did. They actually
weren't allowed out. Lectures were cancelled.
Pardon me for interrupting. They actually didn't say prevented from entering. They said we successfully got everybody out through the rear door. That seemed to be their big goal. Get everybody out. No confrontation, no complaints that these people were trespassing.
This is the capitulation to the bully. Okay, it's the playground. It's the school playground. If you stand up to the bully will slink away.
Absolutely.
If you allow the bully to push you around, they will pursue you further and further and further.
How unusual is it for you to take a public platform like Twitter or anywhere in social media and voice your personal opinion of something in the news that's not specifically related to diplomatic affairs, which we'll get to in a moment?
So two things. It's not only my personal opinion; it's also my professional opinion. I used to be a lot more active on social media. I'm not the biggest fan. It's a little bit polarized and a little bit shallow. But I think that both my job as Consul General representative of the people in the State of Israel and just as a person, we have an obligation to speak out. It's not the first time. Look, I'm a guest here in Montreal. I don't want to get involved in the internal issues of what goes on here. Anti-Semitism isn't an internal issue, or isn't only an internal issue. This is why we established the State of Israel, in order to have independence and in order to take responsibility for our own lives and futures. And when you see these guys here, by the way, it's not only McGill. Concordia's contributed its share and a little bit from some of the other universities. To be fair, it's less the universities than it is the faculty and the students. But this is something which, if we don't push back, it's going to push us over.
Absolutely. Now, you did have some good news to announce to the city, which we also covered in the paper. The Quebec interest office in Israel is actually started.
It's open. It's open on the ground.
So it was working from here, and there was a delay in the official opening there, but now it's open, and you made that announcement this week. Tell us a little bit how it operates here.
So the government of Quebec decided to open a representative office in Israel some months back. The implementation takes a couple of months to roll out. It was postponed because of the October 7 attack, the October 7 massacre, and was functioning from here in Quebec. And just this week, the head of mission, who was recently appointed, flew out to Israel. So this is his first week on the ground. He's in his new office, and we're building bridges. We've been building bridges for many, many years, but now we're going to be building them from both sides. And we're very excited. You know, just 2 months ago, in the middle of this awful war that we've been dragged into, an Israeli company invested $136 million to purchase a Montreal-based Quebec company. So the potential is fantastic.
With no money from the provincial government, they didn't need subsidies for this.
For that investment, no, that's the private sector.
I only mention it in light of the subsidies that are going to other companies that are coming into Quebec.
Look, Quebec and Montreal in particular has got creativity, got innovation in the tech sector. You've got aerospace, you've got gaming and animation, you've got artificial intelligence. Israel is a world superpower in technology. A lot of our people are excited about some of the partnerships that are potential here in Quebec. It's not the only. There are a number of other examples. Medical technology. There are partnerships that exist. I think we're going to see a tremendous boost.
Ambassador Paul Hirschon, Israeli Consul General in Montreal, responsible for Quebec and the Atlantic provinces. Thank you for spending time with us. The news is only going to get better from here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned in the opening comments, March is Fraud Prevention Month. And there's a remarkable story of a 90-year-old senior who caught on to a scam and got to see the scammers brought to justice. Chelsea St. Pierre broke the story, and she's with us now. Chelsea, tell us about this. What happened?
This is really good news, Beryl, because it shows us that efforts to educate seniors about scams is beginning to yield results. Our readers really should check out this individual's story. However, his sharp moves made it possible for police to take two individuals off the street, intercepting them in the middle of their next attempt. I won't give away the rest of the story. This senior had himself been scammed, and he caught on to the scam while he was in the car with two of them, right? Right. And he pulled a sharp move on his way out from the car. It's in the story. I'll leave that one for our readers to go check out. But, what I call scam education is something that police and we, the media, have been trying to promote in the last 2 years, particularly concerning senior scams and romance scams, because they affect predominantly women over the age of 50. There was 544 million in reported fraud in 2023 alone, which makes up only about 10% of the overall fraud, according to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. And the reason for that is because the average scam, is about $600 per individual scam. So most people just kind of let it go and decide not to report it because they think that going through the entire reporting process is too complicated or too difficult, or in other cases, they just don't even realize that they've been scammed in many of these cases.
Well, Chelsea, your coverage of crime and criminality in the West Island, particularly, which is growing tremendously since COVID, it's really something have been terrific, and you brought a lot of great stories to light, and we look forward to your next ones this coming week. And as Chelsea said, Montreal, check out this story on the front page of the Suburban this week. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Beryl.
We've got what's a week without some more questionable news from our municipal government. Joel Chiashu has done a great in-depth look at STM's budget cuts and how they could affect our services on the ground. Joel, welcome.
Good evening, Beryl.
So tell me what we can expect from these cuts. What's the worst case?
It's a good question. I won't start with the worst.
We're not going to have to walk, are we? The buses will still be there.
Well, I know you like to walk.
Oh, that's me. Yeah, I'm a big walker.
You strike a good pose.
I can walk from 2 blocks to 2 blocks. I do that.
So here's the deal. We've been reporting about the STM cuts, which amounts to about $85 million this year. That's about 5% of its budget. But at City Council this month, Pierrefonds Roxborough Mayor Jim Bass asked the Plant Administration how the agency could slash 230 jobs, many of them in maintenance, without impacting operations. And he noted that the STM is contracting out some work to private firms, which he says is going to cost the corporation more than using its own employees. Now, STM Chair Eric Allen Caldwell said, of course, the first objective is to maintain the volume of service, to keep the buses rolling on time, to get the metros going, and to maintain their customer base. They said it won't be easy, but they've left no stone unturned and are committed to doing it. Now, the STM said it's not what they want to do, but they told me that there is work being done externally, but they always prioritize and value their internal workforce. But some jobs simply cannot be done in-house, like building new calipers instead of rebuilding them, and other parts that need to be taken care of by outside firms. And they also said there's other factors to consider when considering all costs to compare internal and external expenditures. Now, there is a concern regarding the older Metro cars, the MR73s. Now, you might recall these were introduced in the late 70s. And they have a shelf life of about 50 years, but can be extended another decade with lots of love and care. And they're being phased out slowly with a plan to get rid of all of them within a decade. Now, Caldwell agreed they need extra attention. He actually used the words, they require more love. And that's exactly what Bass was suggesting and concerned about, that breakdowns might become more frequent and delays longer. Now, these cuts are new, so we have not yet seen an impact, and we don't know how it's going to affect operations yet. We're watching it very closely. But there's also some question about maintenance of bus shelters as well. So we're going to see what impact it has. And Beryl, I know when you head out on the bus and Metro tonight, if there's a delay, you'll let me know.
Your sarcasm has been noted, but allow me mine. So therefore, Joel, and you've covered transport marvelously. It's one of your expert fields. So there was really a good reason maybe not to spend $200 million buying up land in the West Island for the, quote, biggest park in Canada, which has not been even started, and maybe leave that $85 million for the public transport, which supposedly Mayor Plante wants everybody to take, but we don't have enough buses, and now you're telling us we're not going to have enough maintenance.
Well, I believe that Jim Bass put it very eloquently. It was the first example of whataboutism from a politician that I actually thought about for a little more than a second, and that was maybe the city needs to look Legault straight in the Premier Francois Legault straight in the face and say, no, thank you. please don't spend $850 million on a big old roof. We need money for transit. We need money for housing. The need is there.
Well,
we know what's best to do with it.
I got to tell you, I don't disagree with you, but I think Premier Legault having a bigger budget is just taking a leaf from Mayor Plante's page. If she can spend $200 million with 3 million people, he can spend $800 million governing 9 million people.
Well, on that note, can I clue you into a little story as well?
You've got 40 seconds to clue us in.
Okay, if you're heading off the Carrie North at Sherbrooke and want to head west in MDG,
I love
in
this,
winter,
yes.
It's a lot more difficult because the U-turn that extends over the expressway and circles back to the de Maisonneuve is blocked. And why is it blocked? Because Transport Quebec can't clear the snow. It's 70 meters by 5 meters across the highway, but their plows are too big to exit at the end of the loop onto Addington, which is residential and
Okay,
more
I'm sorry
narrow.
for laughing, but
So now listen to this. Rather than using a smaller plow or finding another solution, they just block off this piece of highway infrastructure and force everyone to inch their way up through Sherbrooke into Carrie, which, as you know, at rush hour is
literally
horrific.
inching.
Now listen to this. Who's to blame? It depends on who you ask. I spoke with NDG Councillor Peter McQueen, who told me the problem is Transport Quebec. Transport Quebec told me, well, the borough was offered a couple of solutions, use their own trucks or remove some parking, and they refused. Well, McQueen said, yes, but they can't use their trucks because they can't exit on the highway, and that residents and local businesses don't want to lose their parking. And you got to understand that point of view. I go to Chalet Barbecue, you need parking, right? So there you go. You got to love it. They shut down this piece of infrastructure.
You got to
love. They can't clear it, and they blame each other.
You gotta love
kind of sounds like
seamless,
Bucharest in the late 90s.
The seamless communication between all levels of government in Quebec.
Correct.
I'm glad to see the tradition continues.
I knew you'd love it.
Joel Chashu, thanks very much. Montreal will be right back with my colleague Anthony Bonaparte and great feature stuff you need to know about, and he'll have Jennifer Cox on with them. All you need to know about homes and very witty Suzanne Reisler-Litwin, who is one of his columnists, right after this.